Welcome to the Three Crosses Farrier Company. Today we're going to be trimming and shoeing Lena. Lena is actually another one of my favorites on my list. She's a little reining pony, and her owner are headed off to college, and they got accepted on a reining team. So we're really excited to see how they go and how far they can go. One of the coolest things about my job is getting to see my clients live their dreams and get to succeed at what they're doing. And this particular client, who's actually doing the filming for me here, is an amazing young lady and really works really hard with her Mare. This Mare and her are like inseparable. So you'll notice that the shoes are a little bit longer. They stick further out behind the hoof. This is actually by design. Because she's a reiner, we have a little bit wider shoe, which helps her slide. And secondly, we want to support that hoof and, importantly, the hocks, the tendons, the whole 9 yards. Lena gets injected about every 6 months. She has some arthritis, which can cause her problems, but with the injections, she does just fine. This shoeing cycle is actually getting close to her injection date. And this has made it a little bit more difficult. She definitely is ready to be injected. She's a little stiff, a little sore, and it's going to make a world of difference. And you'll notice as I work on her throughout the video, she stands extremely close. So by that I mean her back feet, one will almost be over the top of the other when she's standing. This actually gets better as she's worked and as she gets injections. But for now, we kind of have to deal with it. And the other thing is that when she's sliding, so reiners have slides. So they'll go at a high rate of speed and then stop on their back end and slide. Lena likes to slide together. Her feet come together in her slide, which isn't really what you want to do. You want the feet to stay relatively straight and support the whole horse as they slide to a stop. So that's also why we use the plates, the reining plates. And we also have trailers and extended heels on Lena. So, and I'll explain why we do that a little bit later in the video when we get to that point. For now, we're going to start by cleaning out the commissures, cleaning up the hoof. I've had people ask the question whether you should trim the frog or not. And I've heard both sides of the argument, which don't trim the frog, it should be healthy. I've heard the other side of the argument, which is a lot of bacteria gets under the frog and creates issues. I kind of like to be middle of the road. I think you should address the frog to a point. You shouldn't rape it or get it down to nothing. You don't want to make it like look perfectly clean, but you want to get those commissures cleaned out. Now, these shoes here, you'll see what I was talking about. So you'll see the extended heel here in the medial side, the close side, the inside, and that runs almost in a perfect line with the first nail hole. And then the outside branch, which you'll see here, is what we call a trailer, and it's at an angle to the first nail hole on the left, on the lateral side or medial side. Now, you'll notice that I'm burning these on. One of the reasons that I'm burning them on is because I have a rocker toe on these plates. And that's also to help her in her stops. It kind of pushes her up on the dirt and doesn't allow that shoe to catch. One of the things with reiners is, let's say there was some traction and they go into a slide and that shoe grabs, we could potentially really injure the horse. So we don't want any potential for that shoe to grab. Here I'm relieving sole pressure. So when you burn that shoe on, you've set the shoe down in and you want to make sure that there's no sole pressure. It's super important, and it can mean the difference between the horse being sound in a week and not being sound in a week. Lena has very little hoof wall naturally. She doesn't have a lot of hoof wall, very thin hoof walls, and she has a very tiny foot. She wears triple aughts in the front. Now, you'll see her jerk a little bit there. I'm going to check that. You see how I kind of stop and I think about pulling the nail? What I was looking at is that the nail had already popped out, and not very high, to be honest. So I was making the call that, okay, the nail's not really that high. I don't think there's any problem with it, and I'm going to go ahead and drive it the rest of the way. With thin hoof-walled horses, you have to be really careful that you stay in the hoof wall with your nail and you don't hit live tissue. And when you look at the hoof wall, we nail to the lamini wall, but we want our nails to go into the hoof wall, which is the dead tissue. Same thing as the end of your fingernail. Now you can see she's fighting me a little bit here. She's been standing for quite a bit and she needs a break. And so I want to get this shoe back on so she can stand on it and take a break. I'm using 4.5 nails here. They're the ones that are actually the holes in this shoe are punched for 4.5 nails. My normal nails are a 5, and they're significantly wider and bigger than these, but they won't fit the shoe. And you notice there's just a little bit of nail sticking up when we get done driving. Again, you'll see me checking to make sure those nails are popping out. Super important when you're driving these nails that everything comes out, that the nail stays in that hoof wall. I can't stress that enough. Mistakes do happen. Everybody that's ever shot a horse will tell you that it's happened to them. And if they tell you it hasn't, they're either not shoeing that many horses or they're lying to you. I'm really happy with that shoe when I got done. Dropped my hammer there. That was a little awkward. Now you can see the nail line. The nail line looks pretty straight. The one in the back's a little taller than the rest. You'll notice that I'm rasping a little bit of the front of the shoe. When I burned it in, it was a little bit forward when I nailed it. Not a huge deal. I'm just going to take that down just a little bit and clean it up and make sure that it's kind of even with the front of the hoof wall. Now when I run my rasp, I'm running it in the same angle as the rest of the hoof. I'm not trying to bob the toe or dub the toe. Here I take a little bit of the sharpness off those nails so that when I clinch them down, they'll be nice and square. These are GE clinchers, and I really have liked them, but I think I'm going to have to get another pair. They're not grabbing quite as good as they were a couple years ago. Now you'll notice I checked that nail there. She kind of reacted. When we're shoeing a horse, we're watching all of the body language of the horse. We have to make sure that everything that we're doing is coming together to make sure the horse is sound when we get done. It's not an easy process, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of skill to do, and it takes a lot of continued education. I'm very lucky to have people that have helped me along the way and still do help me and give me advice. And you cannot do this job without getting advice and solid instruction from someone else that's been through what you're going through. Now here I'm taking off the little bit of nail that's sticking above the shoe. Again, we do not want any grab when this horse goes into a slide. We don't want him to catch a rock, a piece of baling twine, whatever it may be. We want that foot to slide. We don't want him to catch it so when he's going full bore, because he could literally tear a tendon. And again, you can see that trailer right there. The trailer serves as a drag, basically. It drags the foot open. It grabs the dirt just enough to make that, pull that shoe a little bit to the outside. And it's fascinating when you put these horses on a camera in a stop and you can see the slide. And you can see the difference in the slide when you change the shoe. Again, we're going to pull the shoe off, get it cleaned up. You'll also notice that she's just about worn those sliders out. there's not much left of them when she gets done. This horse really likes to work, and she does it naturally in the pasture. I don't think people understand that reiners are bred to do this, just like bucking horses are bred to be bucking horses. Lena loves being a reiner. She loves doing this. It's what she lives for. And if she didn't love it, she wouldn't do it. A lot of people forget that a horse has to love its job just as much as the human does. It doesn't want to do something it doesn't like. It has been, as I've said in previous videos, lately it has been super, super dry. And I start using my nippers this time of year. It saves my wrists and elbows. It just really helps you out. Again, not taking a lot off that frog, just the top part, kind of getting it set down a little bit. I'm not getting super aggressive with the frog. The frog is their cushion. It cushions the rest of the foot. Their weight bearing, 75% of their weight bearing is on the laminae wall, laminae and hoof wall. The rest is on the frog, about 25% I think of the. So now, running your nippers flat, I stress this in every video I do, I think. If you can learn to run your nippers flat, you will save so much time in the long run because you won't have to run your rasp near as much. I actually just got this knife. I don't think it's been in any other of my other videos so far. It's an interchangeable blade. It's made by Baselli. Anyway, I can't pronounce it correctly, but I really like the knife. And so when this blade's done, when I've used this blade up, all I have to do is order a blade. I don't have to order a new handle, and they will ship the blade to me, which I think is super cool. Again, you want to run everything in a smooth, level flow. When working with horses, it's really important that everything is smooth and there's a flow to it. Quick, jerky motions will get you in more trouble when you're working with a horse. Now, we're going to burn this shoe on. You're going to notice something when I burn this shoe on. You'll notice on the lateral side, there's a low spot. So when I touch the shoe, you can see where it impacts and where it burns, and then you'll notice where it doesn't. Now, full disclosure, I made a little mistake here, which I'm going to notice in about 5 seconds, and you'll see. My medial side, the inside of this, has a trailer on it instead of the lateral side. So when I was building shoes, I built 2 shoes for this horse at the same time, and I built 2 left-hand shoes. So I actually had to take this shoe back to the forge, reshape it, and you'll see when I come back that I actually have a shoe now with the correct branch. And that's why I can't. Now you'll see that I actually have a trailer on the lateral side where it should be. So sometimes, best laid plans of mice and men go astray, and sometimes I forget what I'm doing. ADHD is a wonderful disease. I do love smoking on shoes. I don't do it as much as I would like. Primarily, we live in a really dry area, and if you burn shoes on all the time, you take a lot of moisture out of that hoof wall, and I found that they start to crack and chip and fall apart on you about the end of summer. So I tend to try not to burn too many on, but I do love when I get to do it. Now, unfortunately, and I apologize to everyone, I had a malfunction with my camera throughout this video. In some parts of the video I got sound, in other parts of the video I didn't get sound. In this particular part of the video, I didn't get nailing this shoe on. So I apologize. Again, you're going to notice I take a little bit off the front of the shoe. This is just when I burned it on, it had a little bit hanging out the front, and that's okay for, in my opinion. It's fine. It's not a big deal. It's less than a 1/16 of an inch, like way less than a 1/16 of an inch, and I'll just buff it off with a rasp, and then come in, rasp the hoof wall just a little bit, and you'll notice that the shoes fit pretty full, and that is by design. These shoes are meant strictly for support. If you're not supporting this horse, she's going to have issues when she's working in the arena. Super, super, super important when working with reining plates is that you're supporting that whole hoof, and you're supporting specifically the hocks, the stifle, all that really important tendons and muscles up the leg, and the pastern, and I mean, the list goes on. Now you'll notice I'm touching my clinches just a little bit. I just hit them just so that any sharp edges or anything that could possibly cut or hurt the horse is off. And then I usually run my hand around the hoof wall like that to see if there's any sharp edges. I'm definitely a little OCD when I shoe. I try really, really hard to get a shoe perfect. Although there is no perfect shoe job, I strive for it. And I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly trying to find new and better ways to do my job. And better ways for the horse, better ways to keep him comfortable. Now you'll notice again, we're taking just the little bit of the nail that's left, that's hanging up, just so that we don't have any reason for this horse to grab when she's in a slide in the arena. Some guys use a power tool on this, and I've heard that can cause issues, like it heats the nail up too fast, and I don't know what to believe, so I just do it old school. Well, that's about it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.